Happy Wednesday and welcome to Trades Lady Happy Hour. You may notice that I am dialing in or doing this live from kind of an interesting, not my normal situation. I'm actually in a paint booth at the moment. As many of you may know, we are in crazy crunch mode with the SEMA all-female build that I'm leading at my shop in Phoenix, and we are in the mad rush to paint, so we are up actually at a borrowed paint booth. We do not have a paint booth at Girl Gang Garage, so we have partnered with a local school, like a trades career readiness school, and they have an incredible restoration and collision program, and so they've kindly allowed us to use their booth, and so here I am in their booth doing Trades Lady Happy Hour. So that's what's going on here. But welcome. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me and tuning in. I hope you guys have had a fantastic week so far. For those of you who are new here, thanks so much for tuning in and checking it out. This is Trades Lady Happy Hour, where each week I meet with and introduce you all to a incredible woman working and thriving and killing it out in the trades, and really just taking an opportunity to shine a light on them. It tends to be that folks like myself and Christy Lee and Faye Hadley and the handful of other incredible women that are out in the kind of public eye doing automotive or trades related work kind of get all of the attention, and yet realistically there are thousands and thousands of amazing women just doing phenomenal work out there every day, and they deserve their praises to be sung a little bit and have a light shown on them. So that's what this is all about. For those of you who have been coming around regularly, thank you so much for always coming and hanging out and spending your Wednesday night with me, and for all of your support. I know the ladies appreciate it, I appreciate it, so cheers to you, thank you. And a quick thank you to our sponsor, Drive Time, for helping allow me to continue doing this, right? It is something that I've absolutely loved for the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, since I started doing Trades Lady Happy Hour. It is the highlight of my week each week. I absolutely love doing it, and I'm very, very grateful for Drive Time for being a partner and for showing their support for women in the trades through supporting this podcast. So big thank you to them. And then let's see, I think that's all I've got. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to this week's guest. Her name is Elizabeth, aka Becky, I believe she goes by. Becky's Garage. Elizabeth Jorgensen. I think I pronounced that right. Jorgensen? I think that's straightforward, but I could be wrong. I'm known to horribly destroy last names. She is going to be joining us shortly, and she is a automotive technician who has turned to a heavy equipment technician. So interested to hear her story and how she made that leap and why she made that leap and that change. But I'm really excited to see kind of how she came up, what her experiences have been thus far, and how things are different between the two industries, the two different subsects of these industries. So I'm excited to have her join. I'm gonna see if she's in the room. Somebody's asking what color it is. No, I'm not telling you what color it is. It's a secret until SEMA. For those of you who don't know, the all-female build that we are doing and painting in this very paint booth tomorrow, we have put out 3 custom colors. We allowed everybody to vote on that, and we are painting it the color that won the most votes, but nobody gets to find out what color that is until SEMA unveil this year in November. So everything's gonna go black and white in the very near future in these photographs. So I'm not giving it away. I'm sorry, can't do it. All right, anywho, let's invite tonight's guest in. Let's see, Elizabeth, baby.
Yep, yeah, I can hear you.
Yay! Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like purple background there. You're
Yeah.
art.
This is my craft room, so it's also the chaos room of the house. So that's what it is.
Creative minds are rarely tidy. What kind of crafting do you do?
I'm really big into like watercolor and sketching.
Nice.
But my husband and I, we have like little miniature figures that we paint and stuff, and
Cool.
yeah, so a
How
whole horde
fun.
of things.
I love it. That's super cool. I'm so not talented with any of the like sketching, drawing, that kind of stuff. Like
Oh, if
I'm
I try
so
something else, I am horrendous at it. So,
I'm so jealous of people with talent in that arena. It is just I can draw stick figures decently, but creativity comes out elsewhere.
mhm.
So, would you mind introducing yourself to the fine folks at home and telling everybody, just briefly who you are, what you do, aside from being a crafter?
Yeah, so I'm Elizabeth Jorgensen. Some people call me Betty, some people don't. That kind of took off in high school, and my teachers just randomly called me Betty, and I'm like, I don't mind that nickname. So I kept that one. I went to college to be an automotive technician and did like an accelerated associate's degree in that. And
Okay.
then I did automotive for almost 5 years. And then I switched over to doing heavy equipment after that, mainly because of pay. Um, and it wasn't so much that like they don't pay well, it's just that compared to my male coworkers, I was getting paid maybe two-thirds of what they were getting,
Oh, wow.
max. Um, but when
Okay.
I switched over to heavy equipment, like equal, no problem. It was quite a stark difference.
I have so many questions, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because I do want to go back in time a little bit. But I'm
Yeah.
curious: is the since you launched right into it, and I want to talk a lot about this if you're okay with that. The with heavy equipment, is it hourly, strictly salary, or
I feel like it really depends on what company you work for. I work for a family-owned company, and they do hourly. Just because sometimes you'll have a customer that keeps their equipment in super great shape, and sometimes you have people that beat it up after 3 hours of use. So um, we do a lot of hourly because we have road techs as well, so they have to travel quite a distance, and then we bill according to that. So
okay, interesting. Do you attribute the difference in pay from the automotive side to the heavy equipment? Is it because of the pay structure? Is it because of the industry? Is it because of the type of work you do? Tell me.
I think a lot of it has to do actually with who the boss is. My current boss is a female. She's super awesome.
Nice.
I made it a point in my interview. I was like, listen, if I want to get paid according to my experience. I don't want to get paid differently because I'm smaller or, I noticed I did, I want to say 3 other interviews at the same time that I did this one, and almost all of them, the offer was for $3 less than what they offered my coworkers who were also looking to leave the shop I was at.
Oh, wow.
Or they would ask me if my coworkers wanted the job over me. And one of them even asked if my husband wanted the job over me. So,
Wait. You got to tell me about this. Oh, what?
yeah, so my coworkers and I left our last shop all at once. It was a very bad atmosphere, but we're super good friends. So there were only 3 of us running a shop 7 days a week, 12-hour days. Those are rough days.
Yeah.
One of us went on vacation. He came back. He's like, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, then I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And then my manager put in his 2 weeks. And we still talk. We all hang out all the time. But when we were looking for jobs, we would have each other listed as like our, phone call review people. And they would notice that like, oh, this was her previous manager. And they would ask why I was leaving my last job. I'd be like, well, the atmosphere just wasn't good anymore. And then they would ask like, oh, well, does this guy want the job? And I'm like, I'm here right now. If he wanted it, he would be interviewing with you. And there was one where they could see that my husband was actually a technician at one of their like partner dealers
Okay.
because they got my name and they could see that he's an automotive tech. And they're like, well, does he maybe want to make the move down to this location? I'm going, no, he's happy where he is. If he
Oh my
wants to
goodness.
come down, he would. And then they offered me an oil change job instead of a technician job that I was already doing at my last job.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it
that's
was
so crazy to me.
it was
I,
strange for
I mean,
sure.
I've heard of some pretty like ballsy, outright
It
sexism and awful comments, but that you might be taking the cake right there. Like,
was
how
strange.
how did you respond?
Before before I knew like how big my pay difference was for my coworkers, I really didn't acknowledge it. I thought like, oh, I'm younger. They're probably, just building up the pay. And then I discovered like McDonald's employees were making more than me and stuff, and I'm going, okay, something's got to change. So I asked for a raise, and that didn't happen. And I was like, okay, this isn't worth it anymore.
No, it's not. I didn't know that we were going to have this conversation tonight, but I'm glad we are because I feel like it's been something I've been talking about a lot with people is that the fact that we're losing people to the automotive industry specifically to
Oh, and
other,
I love automotive.
right?
Yeah.
But we're losing people, yourself included, and so many others that I know, to other similar industries that are treating their employees better, who are paying them better, where you can have a better quality of life. And it's just, I don't know what the fix is, like, and why the automotive industry, specifically auto mechanics, is so far behind, I guess, catching up with providing good competitive pay and quality of life. Like,
Right.
when you left the shop that you were at, where you were wrenching
Mhm.
as a auto mechanic, was 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 it like intentionally that you were looking to get out of automotive at that point, or did this opportunity with
No.
show up and
I really wanted to stay in automotive because my goal eventually is to have my own shop.
okay.
But everywhere I interviewed for automotive, either they wouldn't call me back, um, they would ask if my spouse or my friends wanted the job, or they'd offer me a very low ranking position when I'd built up, my licenses and all this experience at my last two shops. And I was like, the heavy equipment, they're offering like $9 raise, which is pretty hefty amount for me. Um, and it was a really good atmosphere. Everybody got along. And one of my coworkers actually works there with me now. So
Nice.
we went together.
Nice. So these were automotive shops that were telling you that they wanted to hire your husband or a coworker.
Yep. In fact, this was the only heavy equipment shop I interviewed at.
Interesting. Did you fall across it? Did you stumble across it, or how did it come to your attention that there was this job available in a different?
So my dad is like what's the term I'm looking for? He has an account with them.
Okay.
And he was out at lunch with the boss, and she mentioned she had some positions open. And of course, everywhere is looking for mechanics right now. They were looking for a painter as well. I don't really paint a lot. Occasionally I'll do a truck here or there for like our used sales group, but most part I'm an in-shop tech doing like the engine swaps, and I'll do a mask swap or rebuild, and it's pretty cool. So
That's very awesome. So how has that transition been going from automotive to heavy equipment? Has there been a steep learning curve? What similarities?
um some of it's pretty similar, like your basic engine mechanics. Some of the terminology though has been like super weird for me. So like the where the mast will sit on a truck is actually called a trunnion, and that took me forever to figure that out. And I I think it's pretty cool, but it was definitely interesting to learn like the LP systems versus gas.
Yeah.
We don't use a whole lot of gas. We do get some diesel trucks in there, but for the most part, it's just regular LP.
Okay. So have you found it overall an easy transition?
I'd say it's been moderate. I mean, like, the atmosphere definitely helps. Everyone's very welcoming and they're on the same page of like, ask the questions now instead of deal with consequences later, which is like my big, I'd like to ask a lot of questions. And then, I mean, we have resources. We can get on like Caterpillar's website or Nissan's website and figure out the manuals, which is very helpful for figuring out part names.
Yeah.
But it's been pretty easy transferring over. You use a lot more standard tools than you would metric tools in forklifts. So I had to kind of get a whole new set of stuff, and then you need a lot of duplicates, especially wrenches.
Yeah.
You need at least 2 of every kind. So
What kind of mechanical shop were you working for prior? Were you in a European shop or
no,
import?
I actually worked for a tire and brake shop, but I was the electrical specialist at a tire and brake shop.
Okay.
All of us pretty much did everything in the shop because I mean there are only 3 of us, so
Right.
we took our turns. But that was pretty neat. I mean, I got a huge like range of experience at that shop. I just wasn't making enough money to make the 75-hour work weeks worth it. So
Yeah, God, I feel like I'm hearing that more and more, and then I've also heard the flip side of people saying like, oh, we're just like younger generation is just being greedy and they want all of these things and like a good cost of like a good quality of life and being paid like a decent
I know.
amount is not asking too much. I feel like, and it's
Yeah, my husband was like, so at the end of the day, because we didn't get overtime pay, everything was like commission based at that shop. And the shop was in a predominantly pretty poor neighborhood. So when we did these big quotes, they wouldn't want them. And most of the inspections were free inspections. So I'd maybe get half of what I get now working twice as many hours. And my husband would go, well, how are you doing with like finances? And I'm going, it's like paycheck to paycheck. I gotta pay for gas to get to work, gotta pay for food. We wouldn't get lunch breaks, so I had to order food in every day. That gets pretty expensive. So
yeah. So you said you were making half as much with twice as much time invested?
Yep.
That's
It's a much better deal I got going on now. So
100%. That says everything, doesn't it? Huh.
oh yeah, quality of life went up.
100. Yeah. Somebody just asked that question about your work-life balance and how it's changed since switching industries, but I think you 100% just answered that question.
Oh yeah.
That's so. Do you miss automotive?
I do. My father and my husband are still automotive mechanics. My dad does it more on the side. He has his own little shop at home, and my husband works for a dealership.
Okay.
But I mean, I do eventually still hope to open my own shop. But I do think getting like this experience with forklifts is pretty cool because then in the future, like, oh, maybe I could work on tractors too or lawn equipment.
Yeah.
I would say like forklifts, we like to say they're like 10 years behind in technology from automotive.
Okay.
We still tune up engines. We still have to like, what am I doing? I can't remember the term, but we do a lot of older stuff on it. Been a long day. I've been up since like 5 a.m. this morning.
Totally get it. I've been up since like 5 a.m. 4 days ago, so I'm with you.
Sounds rough.
A little delirious right now, but it's that I'm drinking caffeine, but which I need desperately.
Same.
I need an IV drip. Like I just need to like walk around with an IV drip of caffeine.
I want to get one of those hats. Just
Yes.
pull it in. There we go.
100%. So your dad and your husband?
Mhm.
Okay. Do Are you seeing any interest from them about exploring other industries now? Seeing you being paid more, having better work-life balance? Is there an interest peaked for them at all?
So my dad is actually a maintenance supervisor for his day job.
Okay.
He still loves his automotive stuff too, though. But him and my grandpa have like a 1929 Ford that they turned into a doodle bug. That's like their big thing. So they do that on the side, and then hopefully one day I can help do whatever modifications they want, and then I'll slap my name on that thing. Uh, but my husband, he still seems to really like the dealership quite a bit. Um, he actually just got an apprentice, so he's excited and nervous about that at the same time.
Yeah.
We all are. But I think we all really like automotive.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he wanted to, I think he would get along really well with the people in heavy equipment, and he'd probably pick it up pretty fast too. So,
So if you were given an opportunity tomorrow for same pay, same benefits, same culture, would you go back to automotive? Would you hesitate?
I might only hesitate slightly because I really like my coworkers. I think though, automotive, I mean, I've still got my licenses in automotive. I still want to keep those up. And I really do miss certain aspects of automotive. You don't get a ton of electrical work with forklifts. It's more maintenance type items. Occasionally you'll get like a really weird brain teaser where a customer will like switch out their own computer, but with the wrong model, and then you don't know that. We don't have access to that information, and we're going, why are we getting all these weird readings? But for the most part, I think if automotive became, better around here, I would probably go back pretty quickly. So
I wish I want to edit out this portion of the conversation and like send it on to all of these decision makers and bosses within the automotive industry. Why are we losing people? Why do we have a trade deficit? Like, we don't pay our people enough, period. People who want to work in our industry are leaving, and they would come back if they could get paid half of what they're getting paid in other similar trades. Thank you for like
right.
summing all of that up so beautifully. Like, it's so crazy. It is so crazy. And I hope
Yeah.
at some point you get to find your way back to automotive.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping that within the next couple of years I can move out of the city and get a little bit more land and start our own shop out there.
Nice.
I am not from the city, so I miss that a lot.
And which city is this that you're in?
I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
It's still a pretty cool atmosphere up here. Everyone's fairly friendly. We all do our own thing.
How'd you wind up in Grand Rapids?
So my husband's from Grand Rapids. When I went to college, it was actually the same college he went to, but we didn't go at the same time.
Okay.
And naturally, there's just a lot more places to work in the city in automotive than there were out in the boonies.
Yeah.
You only get so many cars to work on out in the boonies.
Yeah.
But we bought our house right before COVID, and we were basically looking for a wide area of houses just because it's so hard to get a house right now.
Yeah.
And we ended up in the southern part of Grand Rapids.
Okay.
So not too far of a drive from like a bunch of lakes and stuff, but still pretty city-like.
Now I'm a city girl, so I consider Grand Rapids way too small of a city.
It is small in comparison to like capitals and that kind of stuff, but
I am a city girl through and through. So where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I grew up in the little village of Nashville, Michigan.
Okay.
Everybody thinks it's from Tennessee, and so I'm like, no, we're like an hour from Lansing.
Okay.
We're in Michigan.
Okay. So, how did you get your start? Can we rewind in time a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
How did you wind up as a automotive technician to begin with?
So in high school, I wasn't even like thinking about auto technician stuff. And then my junior year, people started cracking down. They're like, "What are you gonna do after high school? You gotta think about it." And I'm going, I don't know. So I basically started thinking like, well, what do I like to do? And for me, art was like a really big thing. I took like 2 hours of it my senior year just because I had nothing else to do. And I started thinking, I'm like, well, my dad, he still has a shop, so I'd go out and help him, bleed brakes or whatever. And I'm thinking, in a way, like mechanics are pretty similar to art in the fact that you can see your productivity throughout the day. Like there's an end goal and you can see it happening. And I toured some colleges and I ended up going to one that wasn't too far away from my home so I could come back every weekend. And I went to my college, looked at it, and was like, this seems pretty small. It's not going to overwhelm me. I was the only girl in the automotive program, but that didn't really bother me. So that's how I ended up with it. I mean, I'd been around it my whole life, but I liked seeing the like end goal as I was going through. So
It sounds like the way you describe it is like this pretty kind of like logical process deciding that this is what you wanted to do. Was it that logical where you're like, these are my options?
it kind of was like I would go back and forth and like, do I want to do trades or do I want to go with something completely different, go into like music or something? So then I decided, at the end of the day, trades is like a skill that I know I can teach other people and then I can continue and apply to different things throughout my life. I was like, not to take music business against anything, but I'm going music business in Michigan, not really as popular as music business would be in Tennessee or like California. And I wasn't about to move out to California. So
How was your family, your community? How did they feel about you deciding that this is what you wanted to do?
I'd say my family was pretty supportive. My grandpa was kind of like on the fence about it. He's up there, 81. Um, at times you can tell he's kind of still a little bit more biased against it, but I mean, they helped me get through college. They helped me pay my rent so that I could live close to college and not go into extreme. And,
Which is huge.
and that is huge. I managed to make it through college with no debt. So it helps I didn't go to a super expensive college either. But they were pretty supportive. And in a small community, it kind of seems to be split. Some people think it's like really cool. A lot of the shop owners that I talked to, they thought it was awesome. And then you kind of get some of the people that are like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You need to do something more ladylike. And I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? I mean, there was one time I was working on a woman's car and she looked at me and she goes, "You didn't just do that, did you?" And I'm like, "You just brought it in?" And I'm going, "No, I worked on it. I did the whole thing through and through."
All by myself. And that was a woman.
Yeah, so normally, I find that a lot of guys my age group and older women tend not to like be working on their vehicles. But normally, like older guys have no problem with it. Younger women have no problem with it. It just seems, and it took me a while to figure that out because I always thought that like the older age group wouldn't like it at all, but it seems pretty split. And also, I mean, I kind of get why like young men my age might find it intimidating to be around me. I've been told that like their spouses or significant others get uncomfortable sometimes. That was a weird one to get used
Is that
to,
something that
but
you Do you get that at work? Is that like a work thing where people are telling you that, or is it amongst your friends and peer network?
A little bit of both. Most of my friends are actually from work.
Okay.
Um, they're great friends. Like we don't obviously work through anything like that. But when we first meet or first start working together, a lot of them say they're like their spouses get agitated or like freaked out. And I think it's because they just don't know me as a person. I think they get worried that I'm gonna be like really mean or really intense or something. But for the most part, I'm pretty much I just try to make everyone happy throughout the day, avoid conflict like crazy. Yeah.
So, okay, so you go to a technical college, you get your
Mhm.
associates in automotive technology. How did you wind up at your first job, and how did you land it? If you know, there's all these now when you were going for another job, you were dealing with all of this sexism and people, you know, saying ridiculous things. Was like that the first go round as well when you were first starting out?
A little bit. So my first job was actually where my husband still works. I worked there
Okay,
with him for a bit,
okay,
and it was okay, but it got to the point where it was time for promotions, and I had my ASEs before I went into this dealership, but I still needed the experience behind them.
okay.
And they would do this thing where they had the shop license, which I didn't know what that was. I guess some dealerships do that where like if anyone in the shop has the license, anyone can do the repair. Um,
Yes.
but that also made it so that they could promote people without licenses to a technician spot and then keep the people with the licenses back
So
in like oil change and pay them less to do the crazy jobs. So that's what happened to me and one of my coworkers. So we left.
interesting. So you were like stuck doing kind of lube rack kind of stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I did that and then a lot of recall work.
And a lot
Which I
of
mean, yeah, I did a lot of like the seatbelt recall stuff. Because I'm smaller, they'd give me stuff where like I could just hop inside the vehicle and like pull stuff out. Or one of my favorite ones is the shift cable bushings on the Fords.
okay.
It's literally just like right next to the airbox. You like scoop your hand under, pop it in. But the guys with like the big arms, they have to take the airbox out. But I
Yes.
just go right in and pop it in. So they love giving me those. But
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't a whole lot of like using my brain at work. And at the end of the day, I was like, well, I have these licenses. I might as well be using them. So I left.
Fair enough. And so that was the job just prior to going into a heavy equipment, or were there others in between?
That was the one before the crappy job.
Okay. All right. And the crappy job was crappy for a multitude of reasons. I
Oh
assume.
yeah. Oh yeah. That one was a very large corporate owned place. And while it's good for getting like a ton of experience under your belt, it is a terrible atmosphere to get into. So I tell
In what
people
way?
if you want to learn, get in there and then get out. So
Tell me about it. Why? What is awful about it?
when you work for a corporate place, it really just feels like you're a number. They don't seem to really care about like your well-being. Um, in my case, I mean, they would do commission, but it'd be super low commission rates. And they wouldn't take into account your location. They didn't care how many employees you had. They didn't care if, I mean, like when we started having COVID outbreaks here, we actually had a customer who came in and was like right in our faces, and he had COVID and didn't tell us until after he picked up his car the next day.
That's not
And
cool.
so we wanted to take like an hour to go get COVID tested, and our corporate place told us no. Of course, for us, our main concern was we didn't want to give it to other customers and then have it come back on us. Um, it was just kind of one of those things where they'd come in, they'd tell you do this and this, even if you don't have the resources or the capability of doing it. And then if you don't do it, it's still on you. So
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah. Yeah, and oh, and I had to supply all the electrical supplies. Like I had to buy all like butt connectors, all the wire,
Interesting.
um,
And
all
this
the
was a
diamond
big
tools are
corporate,
mine anyways. So
and this was a big company, and they didn't have their own.
mhm. Oh, it's a huge company. They have like 3,000 locations.
Oh,
So it was sad. Everyone's like, "Oh, you guys have such great prices." I'm going, "Yeah, because we're getting ripped off." So
do you feel like you would have found something in automotive if you'd continued to search in automotive that would be equally cool, or do you feel like you had to leave to get to where you're at?
I feel like I kind of had to leave to at least get the respect I felt like I needed.
Mm.
Um, but I feel like now that I know what a really healthy work environment feels like, if I were to go searching again, I would probably like notice things better when I'm looking at different automotive places. And I'm sure there's some here in Grand Rapids. Um, there was one I was even interviewing with, but they wanted me to have all 8 ASE Master Tech. And I was like, dude, at the time I was 21. I was like, I don't even have the time to go get those licenses. I only have a couple of them.
Yeah.
And I do know that like if I were to go back to automotive, I would choose a family-owned place probably, like a smaller mom and pop shop.
Interesting.
I feel like those have a lot of better atmosphere. You know, a lot of them are more family oriented. So like if something happened and like my parents or my grandparents got hurt, I could leave and go help them.
Right.
Where at my corporate job, if I was sick, I still had to come in. So
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah, it can go both ways, I feel like, often, right? Like the smaller independent shops can be way better because they are more intimate, they are more
Mhm.
personal, and you're not just a number. And then on the flip side, they can also be worse because they can get away with stuff. They don't have they don't have human resources, they don't have, all
Right.
of this kind of employee codes and guidebooks that make sure that people are not doing stupid things and are treating you properly. You know what I mean? So it can go
Right.
both ways. It's very interesting. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. Um, let's see. In talking about the mechanical side of things, I know you talked about the heavy equipment stuff that you're doing is kind of about 10 years behind on the electrical work. Um, in the work that you're doing with heavy equipment, as well as what you did with mechanical, favorite stuff to do?
Oh boy. So this is gonna be weird, but I really like the super tedious work. Basically anything that's complex that I've got to do like a big tear down and I gotta like label where bolts go or something. That's my favorite stuff because then I could just like pop my earbud in and
Uh,
work away. Like right now I'm doing I think a $15,000 rebuild project,
oh, wow.
and I mean they told us this morning that some used forklifts are going for like $38,000 for a used one. Um, and I'm going, okay, I see why they chose to fix this, but still $15,000 is a huge rebuild project.
Yeah.
I'm going on day like 5 of rebuilding this, but I like it because I know I have to get, from point A to point B, and I think, see, I did a cylinder head rebuild on it. They got a new radiator, but they bought a used one, and that one needs fixed. So that one's back out. I rebuild a lot of cylinders,
Oh, interesting.
and they just seem to come in waves for us. Like one week I'll do 3 or 4 brake projects. The next week I could be doing like 5 radiators. It really just kind of depends on what's in season for us. So,
Right? Isn't it weird how that happens? I've noticed that too. It's like I won't see
mhm.
conditioning work for forever, and then all of a sudden there'll be like a splurge of it. And it's not just because it's summer. Like it'll happen like very random times. I totally
Oh
agree.
yeah.
Very bizarre. Do you have a kind of work that you don't like doing?
Hmm. I will say one of my things I don't like is the smell of like transmission fluid if it gets burnt. So I I love doing transmission work. I've been told I'm pretty good at it, but man, that smell first thing in the morning is awful.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan, but I do like doing the work, but it's hard to get that smell out of your hands if you're not wearing gloves. And sometimes I rip my glove and then my hand just smells like transmission fluid. So,
I can't. I've developed a sensitivity to transmission fluid over the years. Like it started giving me rashes. It never did
oh no.
when I was younger, when I was first getting into it. But yeah, I would start getting like hives on my arms from it. It was very weird.
Yeah, I got like degreaser on my skin last week. And it's like a pretty heavy one. I'm like, man, this is getting tingly. So I quick ran in and I'm scrubbing my arms off, going, oh boy. But luckily I avoided breaking out from it. So
Yeah. On the heavy equipment, what kind of equipment are you mostly working on?
I mainly work on forklifts.
Okay.
So I work in the shop, so we get like a huge arrangement of stuff. The road guys normally have like set people they go to, but if the project is too big for them to do on the road, it gets sent to us so that we can do a full tear down and evaluation on it. But we'll get stuff in there for like boom lifts, scissor lifts.
Okay.
It kind of depends on what our customers have in their fleet. And then we also have a rental fleet that goes out. So we service all of our own rental stuff as well.
Nice. Do you have aspirations of being one of the kind of on-road, on-site mechanics, or?
Not really. I I don't really like talking to people a whole lot. I have like my set 5 people. Um, I get pretty shy in public. Normally with like other tradespeople, I'm super, super obnoxious and loud. Uh, just because same atmosphere. We're all the same.
Yeah.
But on the road, I've definitely like even if I'm dropping off brake drums to be turned, people start making comments about me to me. Like it's not even behind my back. And so I just get kind of uncomfortable on the road. That being said, like if one of my coworkers needs help, I'll totally go out and help them. But I like being in the shop. I like doing the heavy duty stuff. My coworkers in the shop are super great, so I think I'll stay there. Plus, it's only like a mile from my house, so
Bonus.
a
Totally.
nice short drive.
I love it. So your school program that you went through, that was, how long of a program was it?
So I did the associates one. There's also a certificate that they can get too. Associates will add on like manual trains and that stuff. I think because I went through the summer, it was technically only like 10 months. So it wasn't too bad.
No,
Pretty
that's not
quick.
bad.
They did everything in 6 week periods. So you would take 2 classes for 6 weeks, do your ASEs,
Okay.
2 classes for 6 weeks. So
Interesting. Large program or smaller?
I would say it's smaller.
Okay.
They had a couple different locations they would do them at, but then they merged them together the year after I left, I think.
Okay.
My class size was around 30, and then I think they also did a night class
So
with
really,
like 30. Yeah.
really tiny. How were you received as a woman coming in, and at the time pretty new to
Yeah. Um, so they also had like a diesel program there too. But the interesting thing I found there was like most of the teachers were pretty cool about it. I mean, they thought it was pretty awesome. I definitely had some favorite teachers that were like super cool to hang out with. Um, there were a few guys in my class that really did not want to partner with me. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Um, some of them didn't like me because I was doing really well in the class, but I was really quiet too. So I wasn't like super outgoing and talkative, but yet at the same time, like I wanted to learn, I wanted to be there. Um, I had like my group of people. We just sat around, did our stuff. We'd group together on everything, and you're with the same people throughout the whole program.
Yeah.
So you kind of get to know each other pretty well, and then after 10 months, you go your own ways. So,
Are you in touch with any of them still?
I have like a few of them on Snapchat, but for the most part, I want to say like only a couple of them really use social media. So I don't hear much from them. And then like they had a huge employee overturn at the school, so
Oh.
I still talk to one of my teachers, but the rest of them I don't even know where they are. So
Do you, knowing what you know now, many years in, how many years have you been in the field since?
I'm going on year I'm on year 6.
Okay. Okay. So 6 years in, when reflecting on school, just in general, whether it's your program or a different program, do you feel like that's the smartest way to go? Do you feel like
I think I think if like it's intimidating to go into the field for someone, going into a trades college is really helpful. Because for me, I was like, oh man, I don't know how people are going to receive me. Like maybe if I come in with a bit of knowledge, it might be easier to merge into the field. But if you already have like someone who's willing to mentor you outside, it kind of depends. Like you do learn some good things in trade school, but the application of it is so different in the real world. Um, and we did get to work on cars in the school. We had a whole shop and garage and everything. But you know, you get out in the real world and you get these really weird intermittent problems that'll come up, and you're going, I don't remember this from class. There's obviously like some good points. You'll learn like the basics of like a gasoline engine, basic electrical, Ohm's law, that stuff. But yeah, I would say if you're intimidated, it's the way to go. But I wouldn't say like it's worth going to a huge university for it. I feel like any like good local community college would have a decent program, made connections as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like once it's past your first job out of school, it kind of matters less, right? Like at the beginning,
mhm.
it might be part of getting your foot in the door, but then after that, it's like, hey, nobody cares which school.
Right. Like everybody cares more about the experience than they do about schooling. Like I don't think really anybody's cared about me going to college. It definitely helped like when I was fresh in the field, but now they're like, "Oh, look, you got a degree." What? Yeah, they don't care.
Fair enough. All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. You talked about wanting to maybe open up a shop with your husband. He's a mechanic.
Mhm.
You're a mechanic. Do you have ideas of what kind of shop you would want to open, and things that are inhibiting you so far or holding you back from doing it?
Um, as far as inhibiting, probably money and location. Um, I I mean, there's a whole onslaught of things I want to work on. I have a lot of friends who
Like,
ride motorcycles. I eventually want to do that as well, but we've had a lot of motorcycle crashes recently, and my husband doesn't really want me riding one. I'll get him on board eventually. But we my goal is to do primarily like automotive and light truck.
okay.
But now that I'm working in heavy equipment, if I have like a customer who wants to have like a full account with us for like farming equipment and stuff, I'd probably introduce that. Um, and then I also wanted like a coffee shop as part of my automotive shop. I'm obsessed with coffee, but plain coffee. And and so I always had like this dream, you know. When you're getting your oil change, you get like one free coffee with it or something like that. Or like get a $25 gift card if you spend so much on a huge
Yeah.
repair for your car.
There
And then
you
like all the guys come down and do their little senior citizen morning coffee show. And there you go.
go. I
To
like
me,
it.
that'd be fun. So then you'd have like locals coming in and you get like coupons out there and stuff. It'd be really cool for me. So,
You're already having fun with all of the marketing. I love it.
oh yeah.
You've been concocting this for some time, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Do you said dad does this, dad's supportive of you going into this field. Eh, Other people in your family, mom, siblings, extended family?
Um, my siblings are all really supportive of it. They call me with all their car problems. They're like, "Hey, it's making this weird rattling sound." I'm like, "You do know that could be so many things, right? Like I can't just tell you that over the phone." I have one sibling on the other side of the state that'll drive like 3 hours for me to look at her car. I'm
Oh, wow.
going, "I don't know, safety wise, if that's the best thing, but okay." Um, for the most part, relatives are all pretty cool. I will say sometimes they kind of have like a bias and they'll go more towards my husband than me. And I don't know if that's really intentional
Yeah.
or if it's because now he's the one that's primarily in automotive and I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but like my husband's uncle, he loves coming to me first and he makes a big deal about it. And I'm just going, "Oh boy, don't cause a rift here." Um, but I will say family's been pretty supportive. Um, family friends sometimes it gets a little interesting. A lot of them, strangely enough, will ask me like how this impacts like my family plans, and I'm going, "I don't really know if you guys should be asking that." Kind of seems like my
Yes.
personal problem here.
Right.
Um, it gets a little iffy. A lot of my family friends are older, 70s, 80s. Some of them think it's really cool. Some of them are not huge fans about it and won't even approach me about the topic. So it is what it is.
How
Can't
do
change their minds at this point. So
right? How do you handle the negative stuff? And we all get it in various forms or another. What is your advice or your secret weapon for handling it so that it doesn't hold you back or keep you down?
this has been a hard one for me, but I feel like you shouldn't go out of your way to make people think that you're made for that job. The only person you really need to prove it to is yourself. Um, that was a hard thing for me. I felt like I didn't hear a lot of people say they were proud of me until I got this job. And now I have one coworker who says it all the time. And I'm just like, I don't know how to take that.
Interesting.
And I think it's like, as long as you're happy with what you're doing, don't pay attention to anybody else. I mean, just know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and just acknowledge them. For me, there's like, I know I'm not the strongest person alive. That's obvious. So, if there's something where I need like a 250-pound man, I'm gonna go get a 250
Right.
pound man to help me,
Right.
not to dangle over here on something. Um, and for me, that's a big thing. It's like know your weaknesses, but also acknowledge your strengths. I mean, for me, my brain is one of my biggest strengths. I can diag a lot of stuff. I just asked if I could diag more stuff at work because I felt like I wasn't diagging enough. Um, that's a really big thing because if you don't acknowledge your strengths, then you're just going to keep beating yourself up over things, and you don't need more people to beat you up. That's
Again, that's been a theme of conversations as of late. How we talk to ourselves. Uh, if anybody else talked to me the way I talk to myself, I'd call the cops on them. It's a
right. I got a motivational magnet for my workbench, and it was really funny because we always joke about things in the shop, and it's like, don't let anybody treat you like a cheap bag of weed. You are cocaine. And I'm like, you can't say that to people, but it's a really funny motivational magnet. And I was like, I gotta get that. So now I have it, and it sits on my toolbox. I'm going, you can't tell that to people. But there it goes.
I love it. All right. So we amazingly only have 5 minutes left. I don't know where this hour went. But I want to end on the question that I always like to end on, which is if you had the opportunity to talk to the younger you or another little girl out there like you who wants to do what you're doing, what are your words of inspiration or motivation to them?
I would say don't be scared to do it. Just like go in, learn as much as you can, and don't be scared to stand up for yourself and ask questions. Um, you're always going to feel slightly out of place, but that can also be a good thing too. I mean, you'll stand out for sure, but make it a good thing. So,
I like
yeah.
it. Very cool. Well, I super duper appreciate you coming and hanging out with me for an hour in the middle of your week. I know you have a busy schedule, and I super appreciate it. It was really great to chat with you and get to know you a little bit and hear all
Yeah,
about your
it's
story.
nice meeting you.
Yes, definitely. And I want to thank everybody at home. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us for a little while and getting to hear her story, hear about what she does professionally. Make sure you go give her some love online. It is Betty's Garage.
Yeah, Betty's Garage.
Betty's Garage. All right. So at Betty's Garage, I'll make sure I put that in my write up as well. So go show her some love and support as well. And make sure you come back next week because we'll have another incredible tradeswoman that we'll get to meet and hang out with. And I also want to thank our sponsor, Drive Time, for helping make this possible. And of course, I want to thank you guys at home for coming and hanging out with us and spending part of your day with us, part of your week. So as always, this and all of the past happy hour sessions all live on my IGTV tab within my Instagram profile. So they all live there. Excuse me. So if you're ever looking for some motivation and inspiration, you can go back and check those out anytime you'd like. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and have a great rest of your week. And thank you so very much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. It was great to get to know you a little bit.